Hey, welcome to Current News and Power View. I'm your host, Dr. Nathan Wallace, and in this episode, we're actually going to look at the power outage that occurred last week at Heathrow International Airport. Now, as I zoom in on Power View, things start breaking apart. We can see that Heathrow was actually built in 1946. As of 2023, in a way, it had 80 million passengers per year. Operationally, this is super impressive, given that it only has two runways parallel here that run east-west. And as I scroll down, we can see we have a little bit of a timeline laid out with the outage occurring at 11:23 at night there on Thursday. And this is one of the statements by the chief executive officer saying that the airport is actually fed by three substations. However, a substation experienced a power transformer fire there late on Thursday, and operationally, the whole airport, due to the systems that were relying on this one substation, they were not able to safely, I guess, really automatically or even manually after some time transfer over to the other power sources to maintain those critical systems safely to say operate the airport. So they decided to close up all day Friday. And looking at this, use the measurement tool here inside of PowerView, where between the airport to the substation that caused the problem, North Hyde substation, it's about a mile and a half, a little bit more. And then zooming in, actually went ahead and already drew out electrically some of how all this is connected. But clicking on this North Hyde substation, we can see that it was owned by, or is owned by National Grid, 275 kV, probably built around the 1950s, 1953, when a lot of the expansion happened there in Europe and around London. And we can see that 11:23 also here on the substation, emergency services were called. Clicking on T1, I went ahead and named these for the sake of conversation, T1, T2, T3. So this is T1. You can see the amount of just fire suppression. So this is in this orange piping. This is actually a water main that's coming in, and then all the fire suppression that's coming around to help if there is a fire incident on the transformer, massive amount of sprinkler systems to hurry up and put that fire out. Found this online, don't quote me on this, right? 180 MVA, 275, 66 kV as far as the high side voltage, low side voltage. By the way, there is an image circulating that over here on the right is 400 kV. Over here on the left is, the 275 or 66 kV, going this way. That is not right. You can even just look at the bushings and the jumper here and see the height difference and the length difference as far as how many discs are in these insulators here versus the bushings on the actual transformer, and know that that's not accurate. But looking at this, so that's T1, T2, this is where the source of the problem occurred, right? So massive fire occurred Thursday night, and here's a picture of it. And basically what happens is these systems, these transformers can have an internal fault that occur in or around the metals inside. Actually has coils of copper conductor with paper. It's an electromagnetic force, right? So it's physics. And whenever you have a lot of this physics, this energy moving, you can have heat. And the idea is to dissipate the heat very quickly. So there's these little cooling tanks with oil, and the oil kind of moves. So it's very interesting how over time that these systems can kind of just degrade and break. And it could happen, right, for a variety of reasons. This also can happen for new transformers. So I'm not trying to put a specific cause on it, but it goes back to, extensive monitoring, root cause, and even having these redundancies and resiliencies in place to help, keep the lights on in these events. So sometimes there's between big power transformers like this, especially at a generation plant, there would be a firewall in the middle. You think of like a firewall in your house or in a duplex, if you will, that helps to say if one transformer catches on fire, it won't jump to the other. But then looking at the aftermath, so let's click back on T2, you can actually see some of the just char marks, some of the burn, and even the bus work on T1 completely crumbled there on the right. The jumpers, everything, just it almost looks like it's just melted. And scrolling down here, I think the fire department actually referenced that this is 25,000 liters of oil or 6,600 gallons of oil, which is kind of, I think, around the ballpark, as far as these big transformers. So electrically, the job of these transformers is to step down the transmission level voltage to the safe distribution level voltage. And in here, I just drawn some figures kind of coming out. Now, electrically, this isn't accurate. So this is just my best guess. The dash is actually indicating that there's an underground line coming from North Hyde down to London Heathrow Airport, as well as in some of the research discovered that there's actually a power plant on site. So this is Energy Central, CHP, that's combined heat and power. Now, whether or not there's enough generation, doubt it, which is why it has these different substations. But really, From a resiliency standpoint, you not only have to keep the substations that are feeding, critical systems resilient and N-1, N-2 contingencies, but then the distribution system itself. So even though this event occurred right at this North Hyde substation, there's three sources of of power feeding this airport, as well as, I believe, now whether or not it was operational, I don't know, but even a power plant there on site for combined heat and power to the electrical system. So, like I said, this is just a guess of how things are electrically laid out. Nothing confirmed. We got some underground. We have some overhead there on the top left. This is just an estimate. This is coming from a substation there in the south. So, as more information comes to light, we'll definitely be kind of reviewing it from an analysis standpoint, just to dive in, because this is fascinating. So, I hope you enjoy this first episode. I'll see you in the next one.